Give me that. All right. Here is the audience. There's other audience. And my cameraman. I'll start with a quote from Eckhart Tolle saying, "If uncertainty is unacceptable to you, it turns into fear. But why does the unknown make us afraid?" The purpose of this speech is to highlight what fear is, how it affects us biologically and psychologically, and why we sometimes like it, if you're that kind of person. Fear is a survival mechanism. It keeps us safe, and it's important to understand why it's there, because it can help you overcome anxieties, understand phobias, and enjoy scary things as entertainment. I myself am a huge fan of horror-related activities, haunted houses, movies, but the psychology of it has always intersected with who I am. This topic gave me the perfect excuse to dive deeper into the why of fear and how knowledge is the best way to overcome that uncertainty behind it. In preparation, I've done hours of research through different scientific journals and listened to different testimonies from people explaining their own personal reactions to fear and how they deal with it. Today, I will discuss how fear presents itself in your body and your mind, as well as some evidence to support why it can be enjoyable. I'll also mention some methods to manage your own personal fears. To begin, we'll talk about how fear presents itself biologically. Fear is defined as an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by the anticipation or awareness of danger. It's processed in the amygdala, which is a part of your brain made up of 4 different subnuclei. 3 different major subnuclei: the central, basal, and lateral nuclei. The central nucleus is responsible for several different fear responses, including the stimulation of the hypothalamus, which is an outlet for many physical and hormonal responses, such as the release of cortisol in your bloodstream, which helps stabilize your metabolism and prepare you for anything that you might find threatening. It's also in charge of the startle response, which can present as a contraction of your muscles, and it's stimulated by loud noises like bang, or sudden movements like people jumping out at you. It can also have different physical reactions like shaking or jittering, heart pounding, numbness or tingling, or muscle pain, muscle tension. That's that contraction. These let you know when there's danger around you. And it's not only important how these stimuli affect our body, but how they got in our brain in the first place. There's a variety of different fears that we encounter, like phylogenetic fears, which are fears that we've picked up throughout our time as a species. These include natural dangers, like spiders and snakes, or bacterial infections, or natural disasters like earthquakes or fire. Additionally, there are other fears that we've picked up from more modern threats, like being electrocuted or car accidents. These fears are stronger and people react more to them. They're more fearful of these things. Fear conditioning is a form of associative learning where different stimuli are joined to create different responses, different fear responses. The more one encounters these stimuli, the more prepared they are in the future because of the association that your brain already has with it. Like with the little Albert experiment, where a child is shown a bunny rabbit and then a large metal bar is struck, creating a negative reaction to white fuzzy objects. This led to him being afraid of Santa Claus. With fear conditioning comes fear extinction, which is whenever the same conditioned stimulus occurs without the unconditioned stimulus, so that reaction declines over time. PTSD is a mental disorder and also a phenomenon whenever you take that conditioned stimulus and the individual does not experience extinction over that period of decline. So they can experience it for decades afterwards, even. Sometimes this association can be a positive thing, but what exactly is it that makes us drawn to being afraid? When people say that they like being scared, or they like that thrill factor, what they love is that physical reaction that comes along with fear. The hormones released in survival situations are designed to heighten senses and prepare you for an escape or a confrontation. Hormones like dopamine and serotonin are sought after feelings that can provide relief whenever there's no real threat present. Escapism is the idea that distracting oneself from unpleasant realities will provide relief. Fear is used with this idea to act as an outlet for pent-up feelings released during fake high-stress situations or controlled fear. But how do we manage that? One necessary thing to remember is that fear is there for a reason, and if you're afraid of something, discerning whether it's a real fear or a conditioned fear is important, because whenever you figure out if it's rational, it's way easier to manage. One method for management is breathing, taking deep breaths to slow your heart rate down and assess the situation as it presents itself in reality to you. Another method is exposure, which is in line with the extinction. The more you expose yourself to something, the more your conditioned response from a previous encounter will decline. Then pushing beyond fear to figure out exactly what about it you're afraid of is the most effective way to overcome it. Understanding your own self. To conclude, fear is present biologically and psychologically, and it's necessary to survive, but can be thrilling when we control our reaction to it. At the end of the day, knowing what we fear and why we fear it, as well as how to respond to it, is the most effective way to become a more confident person in fearful situations. It's not your enemy, but it's a reminder that you're alive, growing, and capable of more than you can imagine. Thank you.